Very glad to have you here this morning. Let me begin by acknowledging what a privilege it is for me to be the athletic director at Florida State and get to make the formal introduction of our new head football coach. When you realize that introducing a new head football coach has not been done at this institution for over 35 years, and it has only been done 8 times in our history, one gets the impression that this is not a common occurrence, and it is not. And it is not a common man that I introduce to you today as our head football coach. A common man would not have the courage, patience, and determination to follow the greatest college football coach in history. A common man would find it too challenging to accept the coach-in-waiting role and ignore openings at other top-flight programs. A common man could not have rekindled the Seminole spirit and excitement and vision so quickly. With history as our guide, Florida State will not have another introductory press conference for a football coach until 2044. And I hope to be there. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce an exceptional person with an incredible family, the next head football coach at Florida State, Jimbo Fisher.
Randy, I'll set my agent up to get that in writing here. Haven't we done this before? Seems like we've been up here before, but I guess this is for real now. But first of all, I'd like to say I'm very honored and excited to be the head football coach at Florida State. I've been preparing for this day for a long time. And I've been very fortunate in my life to be around a lot of successful people. I've learned many, many things from them. But I think the greatest thing that I've learned from them is I have to be myself. I must do things the way I want to do them, do what got me here, and remember the reasons why I am here. You know, I've stated this many, many times before. I came to Florida State for a lot of reasons. There really were a lot of reasons. First of all, I was a fan. We all know when you start talking the history of it, I know it. I loved it. And I kind of followed Coach Bowden when I first remembered him coaching in West Virginia to Florida State. That's what always attracted me, and I liked it. It was funny. It just kind of stuck with me. But there's one reason I came to Florida State. That was a coach under Coach Bowden. As an aspiring young coach, I wanted to be a head coach. I always knew that. And I'd been around some successful people. But when the opportunity came for me to coach, in my opinion, under the winningest coach in college football history, and to be under the best man in college football history, it was something I couldn't turn down. The 3 years I spent here have been priceless under. It's amazing, it really has. I sit back and it seems like I got here yesterday. We always say when we have a good time, time flies. You know, in my opinion, Coach Bowden not only won, but he did it with more dignity and class than anybody's ever walked the sideline. We all know that. There'll never be another Bobby Bowden. We all know that. But as we look back, as I said before, I have to be who I am. But as I go back and I look at my coaching, and it didn't dawn on me until I came here. A lot of the values and principles in which I had in coaching came from Coach Bowden, but not in the last 3 years. They came 20 years ago when I first was around him, when I was the first allowed to be part of his family. He said many times, we've walked since he decided, you know, when he stepped down that, you know, we've been there talking. He said, you know, you're like one of my children. I said, I understand that, Coach, and I respect that. But as I was around him, and when I came back here, it was amazing at how much of Bobby Bowden from 1986, 87, 88, 89, 90, it stuck with me over the years. Because I've learned different things and different ways to do things, but when I got back to the core values and principles of what I really believed, when I came back over here around Coach Bowden, they were exactly the same. I think that's what made us have such a very good relationship. It was amazing. And I think the main thing I've learned from Coach Bowden is that, you know, you can have success, but to have it over a long period of time, you have to have your priorities in line. And for Coach Bowden, it was the same. It was God, family, and football. For me, it was God, family, and football. And after that, I'm a little bit lost, I'm going to be honest with you. There's not a lot more. I like to go hunting and fishing every now and then, but after that, that's about it. And, you know, if I want to be here, like Randy said, over the year 2044, that's the way I have to look at this thing. I can't get so caught up in the football part of it that I forget the things that are most important. I think that's the thing the last 3 years that I've learned as much from him as anything. It's how he kept his values in mind over that long period of time. And I've been very blessed. God is very important in our life. My family is very important. As I've said this before, we as coaches sometimes are the biggest hypocrites in the world. We go recruit young men all over the country. We talk about how we're going to take care of your son, and your son, and your son, and your son, and your son. But to do that, you know what you have to do? You have to spend a lot of time. You have to spend a lot of time away from home, and you neglect your family. That's something I don't want to do. I've been very blessed by God to have a great family. And at that, I'd like to introduce my family right here, right now. My wife, Candy, who's been tremendous. She's been with me. She didn't get in this for the money, I know that. When she first got with me, she was making more than I was. But she's been tremendous. And as you know, the mother of your kids when you're a coach is so important. My son Trey, oldest, and my little knucklehead Ethan. I've been with God has blessed me very much. And also to the players out there. I know there have been a tremendous number of players and coaches that made FSU a special place. I respect that. I was one of your fans. And to all the former players and coaches, I may not have been your coach, but we are now some part of the same family. So anytime y'all, you're more than welcome here at any time. Florida State's had a legacy of some of the greatest character quality players to ever play in college football. I believe it will take each and every one of them and us to keep it FSU on top. I look forward, I've met a lot of you, and I look forward to meeting the rest of you. Now, there's one thing that's been consistent, in my opinion, throughout this university, and when Coach Biden came in '76, it's commitment to winning. There's such a great desire to be successful here. That seems shared by our fans, our student body, our alumni, our players, and the ex-coaches that made it that way. We won't be any different. I have stated before, there are many different approaches to doing things. I will have my own philosophies on things. I will do things in many different ways. But as long as the core values and principles don't change, to me, then tradition doesn't change. We must change with the world today. Young men are facing different problems than we faced when we grew up. They're facing them, in my opinion, in the last 5 years, this world's changed. This world's changing very fast. And unfortunately, y'all have a lot to do with that. Your technology, the media, the marketing, the way things are happening today, these guys are facing a whole different world. People ask me a lot of times, why are the players different now? Why are the kids different? Kids aren't different. We're different. Family values are different. The world's different. So what they're facing, the problems they're facing, are totally a different set of problems than we ever faced. And when I was a child, I remember my dad and my mom said, well, it never happened like that when I was a kid. And I'm saying it would never happen like that when I was a kid to them. We're constantly changing. We must keep up with change. If we don't, today's student athlete doesn't have a chance. Because they're facing, in my opinion, 10 times the issues that we ever faced when we were growing up. You know, the theme for me is very simple. How do you win in college football? Now, how do you win? Well, first of all, let me define winning. I'm not talking about just on the field. You can't just win on the field. You have to win off the field. Because if you don't win off the field, especially it's a different time now, you can't be successful on the field. The same problems we face off are the same issues we deal with kids on the field. It's that way. You can't have one without the other. We must have character quality athletes at Florida State, not characters. Recruiting these kind of athletes is the key. We must identify, find them, build them into our program, build them into our family, build them into our philosophies. We have to go work hard. Recruiting, we can say this in a nutshell.